While there are some things lacking in Swift, such as the substring method, there's some really cool features in Swift, and one of those is tuples. A tuple in mathematics is simply a list of values. So we might have x equals 2, 5, 9, 16. That'd be a 4-tuple. Some people also pronounce these tuples, so you will hear that term as well. And I looked it up in the dictionary, and apparently either pronunciation is acceptable, tuple or tuple. Well, we can use tuples in Swift. So we can assign a variable. I'm going to call this pres equals, and just as in mathematics we use parentheses, I'll use parentheses here. And I'm going to assign a string value of Washington. I'm going to separate my next value, which is also a string value, of George. Let me capitalize Washington. I'm going to do one more, which was the year that George Washington was born, 1732. Now you'll notice that I've mixed data types here. I've got 2 strings and an integer. And that's one of the cool things about tuples in Swift. We can mix values. As we look at the assignment over here, you'll see that there's a .0, so these are index numbers. Washington, .1 is George, and .2 is 1732. I can use a print line statement. And let's just create a sentence here of President. Now, in a string, I can use a backslash and parentheses and put a variable value or constant value that will look up and insert the value in my string. So here I'm going to say pres.0, closing paren. Actually, let's do pres.1. Let's say President George Washington. We put a space there, do the same thing, backslash, parenthesis, pres.0 was born in backslash parenthesis pres.2. I'll put a period. Need to close my print line. Oops, I need a quote in front of the parenthesis. And there's my output. President George Washington was born in 1732. So I'm pulling the information from the pres variable using its tuple. I'm going to comment that out. Okay, so I'm going to copy this line. And I'm going to use key value pairs or like dictionary values, creating, in essence, what really is an associative mini array. So now I'm going to assign these values to a key. And let's take our print line statement again. I'm going to paste that. And now instead of 1, I'm going to use lname. 0, I'll use fname. And I'll use birth instead of 2. And you see I get the exact same output there. I want President George Washington. Fname, lname. There we go. President George Washington was born in 1732. One of the real values, I think, in using tuples are the ability to pass multiple values or return multiple values back from a function. So I'm going to paste a function that I wrote earlier called getPres, in which I'm passing it an integer value. It's going to return a tuple. Now I'm going to use that lname, fname, birth of string int. And then I've got a constant of presidents, which is an array, and it has 4 values, and each value is a tuple. So for index 0, since I want to have the first president be George Washington, I want to use the number 1 for him, my index 0, I'm just going to have last name, first name, and 1776. But then index 1, or item 1, is going to be Washington George, 1732. 2 is Adams John, 1735, and Jefferson Thomas, 1743 for my fourth record, or item 3. Then I'm going to simply have 3 variables, ln, fn, by for last name, first name, and birth year. And I'm going to pull the value of whatever integer is being passed for presidents and get 0.0, 0.1, and 0.2. I'm going to return then ln, fn, and by. So I could then have another variable. I'm going to call this one the pres, and it's going to equal get pres, and let's pass it 2. And then we'll print that out. I'm going to use my print line statement here again. Copy and paste, and let's change pres here to the pres. And so now my output here is President John Adams was born in 1735. If I were to change this to a 3, as it reevaluates, it gives me President Thomas Jefferson was born in 1743. So we're passing multiple, or returning multiple values from this function. This is not unique to Swift. You'll find this feature in Python as well. One thing in Python, though, is once you create a tuple, you can't change that value. But I could here simply say, let's just do this. Let's go up a line. So after I've gotten the pres, I could say var, oops, I want to redeclare the variable. Let's just say the pres dot 0 equals Smith. And so I'm changing Jefferson to Smith, and it's President Thomas Smith was born in 1743. We can, instead of making these variables, we could have these be constants, in which case I can't change the value of a constant. But to show the constant works here, if I comment out that line where I'm trying to change the value, we're still getting President Thomas Jefferson was born in 1743. We'll use more tuples when we get into functions. It's a really useful feature in Swift.